Yo, what's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint, back with another recent reads. We're going to talk about the amazing Spider-Man, Kraven's Last Hunt. We're going to talk major spoilers, so if you haven't read this yet and you don't want to get spoiled, come back after you read it. Otherwise, stay tuned. Alright, y'all, so this was actually the first time that I've read Kraven's Last Hunt. I had a couple of these issues as a kid, but I never read the 6-issue miniseries back-to-back, surprisingly enough. And man, this was a dark story. First of all, this was in the late 80s, and it was the first story that was spread out across the multiple Spider-Man titles. 2 issues in Amazing Spider-Man, 2 issues in Peter Parker the Spectacular, and 2 issues in Web of Spider-Man. The thing was, in the late 80s, Spider-Man was so popular that they needed to sell more than 2 books a month. So they created Web of Spider-Man, like I said, Spectacular Spider-Man. But those stories didn't really do as well on their own. So this was the first kind of like crossover event that made you have to buy Web of and those other stories. This was created by J.M. DeMatteis, Mike Zeck, and Bob McLeod. And it is just a dark story, man. Like, just to give a quick rundown, you have Vermin, which is like a rat man type of character, straight up eating people alive. You have Spider-Man gets buried alive underground in a casket for 2 weeks. He's under there. You got Kraven eating spiders and Kraven blowing his head off, committing suicide. All in these 6 issues. So dang, that's pretty crazy. This oversized hardcover collects a little more than that. It gives you those 6 issues. And then it gives you a little bonus stuff, right? It gives you Amazing Spider-Man 15, which is Kraven's first appearance back in the 60s. Then it gives you a Marvel team-up with Captain America and Spider-Man, which they do that because I'll get to that later as to why they include that. They also have a Sensational Spider-Man annual from 1996, which is kind of a retelling of Kraven's first appearance. Then you get one of my favorites, the What If issue. What is it, 17? Isn't it? Yeah, issue 17. What if Kraven had killed Spider-Man? So let's flip through this together, and we'll go over the storyline and what went down in Kraven's Last Hunt. And, man, let's take a look. All right, so being that this was just a 6-issue series, I figured we would just talk about it while we flip through these pages, since, you know, it's not much that happened, but what did happen was kind of crazy. So that's the front of the dust jacket. Here's the spine, and here's the back. Some iconic images, which is actually repeated on the actual hardcover. So, Kraven's Last Hunt. Here's a breakdown of what's inside. Amazing Spider-Man 15, Marvel Team Up 128. This is chronological, which is that Captain America team up. Then you have Amazing Spider-Man Soul of the Hunter, which I forgot to mention. That's like a little one-shot that kind of deals with the aftermath of Kraven's Last Hunt and what Spider-Man's going through, having lived through that ordeal. And then you have Amazing Spider-Man 634 through 637. Sensational Spider-Man. You have the What If. All that stuff. So here's the first part in Web of Spider-Man 31. They all have really dope covers. Spider-Man's wearing his black costume, but I guess it's not the symbiote. At least it doesn't do any symbiote kind of stuff. And it starts off with Kraven. You know, he's doing his hunting thing. It looks like he's messing around with like some freaking stuffed animals or whatever. But Kraven's whole thing is, you know, he's looking at his family. He's feeling ashamed. you know, he's supposed to be the world's greatest hunter, but Spider-Man always bests him. So he really starts going hard preparing for this hunt where he's going to finally take down Spider-Man. He's taking all these herbs and these poisons and jungle remedies he's putting together. And here's Spider-Man stuff. And he's like, he needs to invoke the spider, basically, right? Like he's eating these spiders, and he's really like psyching himself up for hunting down Spider-Man. Now Spider-Man, he kind of catches him on a bad day because Spider-Man is all torn up about the death of Ned Leeds. So Kraven basically catches Spider-Man slipping, hits him with a poisonous dart. He misses with the first one, but catches him with the second one. You see we got this open grave being dug. And with Spider-Man all drugged up and tranquilized, he's able to capture him. And he buries him alive. Which is crazy, man. He buries Spider-Man alive. And he ends up being buried alive for 2 weeks, man. I guess, you know, that luckily due to his spider powers, he doesn't die, right? But man, imagine being buried alive, especially for that long. Story continues in Amazing 293. So it's not enough for him to beat Spider-Man. He needs to be better than Spider-Man. So that's when he throws on the Spider-Man costume and he runs around town saying, I could do what you can do, but better. Mary Jane is obviously tore up about Peter being missing. First it's a couple hours, and you know, that's kind of normal for Spider-Man, but eventually it becomes a couple of days, and it's kind of really dark, man, and seeing her reaction. We start getting teased with these rats too, so that comes into play later on with our character Vermin. Here he is here. So Vermin, he references Spider-Man and Captain America kind of jumping him, right? Kraven also mentions it later when he beats Vermin. Like, he accuses Spider-Man of not being able to take down Vermin by himself. He had to get the help of Captain America. And even together, they barely did it. So that's why they throw in that team up that shows that Captain America and Spider-Man taking down the Vermin. So Vermin, man, he's sick, man. He actually, he's been kidnapping people. They're calling him the cannibal killer in the media. And he's legit in this storyline eating people. It's like, this is a crazy dark story. It had to be the 80s, you know what I'm saying? Here goes that Web of 32 iconic cover of Spider-Man digging himself up out of the grave. So, yeah, Kraven wins, man. Kraven, he bests Spider-Man. He becomes Spider-Man. He takes down Vermin. He does everything that he set himself out to do. And when Spider-Man comes back, he tells Spider-Man, like, look, I could have killed you. I buried you alive just to show you that I was better. And then when Kraven basically has done everything that he had to do, and he proved himself worthy or whatever. Let me find this panel. He takes a shotgun to his head. Boom. Kills himself. So, like, what a dark way to end this very dark story. He commits suicide. He did everything he was supposed to do, and boom, he's out. And that's basically how this ends. Now, What's pretty interesting about this, you know, you don't get much closure on Spider-Man and you know, the aftermath of going through something like that, right? So they give you the first appearance, so you get to know a little bit about Kraven and all that stuff, whatever. Steve Ditko stuff. Then they throw in the Marvel team up. That actually has the photorealistic covers. I don't know if you remember when they were doing that stuff. But, whatever. It's just to show Vermin and how strong he is and how it took Spider-Man and Cap to take him down. Then this is like a graphic novel, like or a one shot, The Amazing Spider-Man: Soul of the Hunter. And I really do like this, man. I love the art in this, and it shows Spider-Man dealing with death, and he's kind of freaked out from being buried alive for 2 weeks. And with the snow, it reminded me very much of like Iron Man 3. You know, maybe they borrowed something from this, but he's got like this post-traumatic stress from going through that ordeal, man. And he basically has to battle with his psyche, and he's seeing Kraven as a ghost, and basically has to come to terms with the fact that Kraven committed suicide, and that, you know, Spider-Man, you know, wasn't there to stop him from doing that. And, you know, Spider-Man, goody two-shoes. I love the art. It's post-McFarlane, so you get a lot of influence, like spaghetti webbing, costume, and eyes look very McFarlane. So I really did enjoy that one shot. This Sensational Spider-Man annual is basically just a retelling of Kraven's origin with his childhood friend, the Chameleon. And it was alright, but it was just like an updated version of his first appearance. You know, Spider-Man, it's literally, you know, 15 issues in, right? Like, you know, he just got his powers, he's dealing with Aunt May, this and that. Then they give us this Hunting the Hunter, which was, like it says, originally published as a 4-part backup story in ASM 634 through 637. And it was okay. I mean, it's an untold Kraven story dealing with the Spider-Man clone Kane. I don't really know where it happens chronologically, but it's a pretty cool little Kane story. Then you got the What If. I think it was cool that they threw this in there. What if he was dead? Or what if he killed Spider-Man? You know, instead of tranking him and burying him alive, he shoots him and buries him alive. Mary Jane's on a rampage. He recruits Human Torch, Daredevil, and Cap to, you know, take down Kraven, who's posing as Spider-Man and killing mad people. And Spider-Man ends up really being dead at the end, man. And actually, the death of Spider-Man in this alternate universe leads to the death of superheroes, because Mary Jane tries to, you know, make Spider-Man and Peter Parker's name good by holding a press conference, but J. Jonah Jameson breaks it up. Torch tries to intervene, makes it look like he's being attacked, and it just ends up leading to, like, the end of superheroes. So it's kind of like symbolic on how Spider-Man was like the heart of it, you know? Then I don't know if this was its own issue or if this was thrown in at the end of What If. But What The is like a 5-page story about Spider-Ham. It's like a parody of Kraven's Last Hunt with Spider-Ham. It was stupid. Then you do get some cool, you know, you get a Stan Lee afterward. You get, you know, a little article about the storyline, about the creators, the original hardcovers, and you get the actual sketches of the original covers, like the original artwork, and you get some panels too. So yeah, man. Alright guys, so that's my little review on Kraven's Last Hunt. Definitely recommend this. It's a quick read. It's just 6 issues. The oversized hardcover has some extras that, you know, you don't really need to read, but I read them anyway. This has a $40 cover price. I bought it on in-stock trades for close to 50% off. And it was a fun, quick little read, man. I think I actually picked this up. I'm in the middle of reading Scout by Jason Aaron. So after I read one of the books, I jumped into this. I think I'll continue Scout, and then maybe I'll read like the Red Goblin oversized hardcover to kind of break it up a little bit. But let me know what you guys thought about Kraven's Last Hunt. I know a lot of you guys probably read it when it first came out in the late 80s. Let me know your thoughts on it. I think that this would be a dope movie adaptation, man. I mean, they couldn't do it with Tom Holland, I don't think, but it's a pretty cool little storyline. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more recent reads. We also have daily comic book related content, whether it's a review of a book, of a movie, a trailer reaction, a haul video, weekly polls from Manimal, Comic-Con coverage or live shows, or statue unboxing and reviews, man. So it's worth a subscription. Hit the bell so you see when I drop one. But you almost don't need it because we drop it every day. Y'all stay minty fresh. Peace.